In this tutorial, we'll be securing Azure SQL database and server. We'll be using data discovery and classification with also like Azure Defender for SQL. So let's dive into the portal. I have already logged into the portal. Let's go to Azure SQL database. So if you are already familiar with SQL databases, how to create it and how to create table, you can skip this part. But as for this demo, just like my other demos, I'll be creating everything from the scratch. That is, even a beginner can follow my tutorial. Let's select a resource group. I'll be selecting one resource group where my Azure SQL database will reside. Next, I need to name my database. Let's name the database Cloud Guru Amit DB. Since there is no server, we need to create a server. Let's click on new Cloud Guru Amit DB server, and the server will reside in the location east to west. Looks good. For authentication method, I'll be I can use SQL authentication just the classic way, right? Let's give it a username and password. So let's give in the admin. Please keep this credentials secret because as a DBA or a security admin, you want to keep these things as secret. Don't want to share these credentials, otherwise you might land into trouble in real life job. So let's click on OK. Let's go down and we'll select development. Since this is just a test environment for us, let's configure the database size and all. So I'll be using basic for less demanding. Click on apply to save some cost. For redundancy, I don't need anything. I'll be selecting locally redundant backup. Looks good. Let's proceed to create and review. There is one important thing, like in networking, I need to enable public endpoint so that I can use a query editor. Otherwise, will be facing trouble when to create while creating table and while inserting data. Like those won't be available, right? So those things we need to especially in the networking tab, we need to check these things. Mark it as yes. Please note this thing. I'll directly go to review and create because everything looks good. I'll go to create. So our deployment is in progress. It will take some time. So till that time, let me dive you into the SQL queries. So we'll be creating basically two tables. One is the employee table, which consists of these columns. We'll be inserting some dummy values into these employee table. If you look, next we'll be creating another table, that is employee underscore Cloud Guru Amit, which will be having these columns, these many columns, and we'll be inserting some dummy values as well there. So two tables, two dummy values will be inserting. Let's go into the portal. Alright, after 5 minutes around, our deployment is complete for SQL database and server. Let's quickly go to the resource. So we are at the SQL database. Let's first go to the resource group as well. So we have these two. I'll quickly duplicate this tab because I'll be needing this in a while. So now let's go to the SQL DB first. If we see here the query editor, if we click, so it will be asking for password. Now I need to enter the password. Let's click on OK. So I'm in here. So now let's fire this commands, that is I'll be creating a table then inserting values. Let's do it one by one. So I've created one employee table and now I'll be inserting these dummy values into the employee table. Let's click on paste and run it. Values got inserted. We can see the success message. Now let's create another table named employee underscore Cloud Guru Amit. Let's go back. I'll be opening new tab and pasting this. Let's run it. So our table got created because we got a success message, and now again we'll be inserting some dummy values once again. Let's open another query tab. Let's paste it and click on run. So okay, so there might be some problem with my query. Alright, I got it because start date I have made some modification because it's not start date, it's actually date of birth. Let's copy or let me type it out, date of birth kind of thing. Let's run it. Yeah, it got succeeded now. So it looks good in terms of like inserting datas and creating tables. So I'll be quickly running the select statement to validate what's there in the tables, right? So let's run this first one, employee Cloud Guru Amit. It got these values. Let's check the other table. I'll be firing one select star again. Let's fire it. So it got these values, right? So from here we are done with the SQL part. Now let's start the actual tutorial, that is will be securing this SQL database. So let me flash the architecture diagram where we are. So we have successfully created SQL database and SQL server. Our tables are ready, everything ready with the data. Now let's begin with securing this using first step will be to enable Azure Defender for SQL. Let's go to the portal. We'll be finding under the security tab. If you look, Microsoft's Defender for cloud. If you look here, we got the enable button, and here if you look, there is the thing called configure or something. Let me first enable it. We'll be getting or enabling some buttons as well. Alright, we got a success message. Now if you look here, enablement status enabled at the subscription level, we got a configure here. So we can click on the configure, and if you look here, so it shows the billing for Microsoft Defender for SQL, how much it cost in INR per server per month. So this is all we can view it, right? So let's go back now, one step back. Now we'll be using data discovery and classification. So let me give you a brief idea what is data discovery and classification. If we look at it is actually self-explanatory. Data discovery, so it's meant for discovering and classification data and putting labels in the sense, let me show you the table values. Let's say we have date of birth, this contains one PI data, so we'll be marking or classifying this data. First name, similarly I can again, let's say I made it PI data, first name. So these things we can classify. We'll be seeing everything, and now what values we have. Let's go to classification. So under classification, if we can here add classification. So I've got my tables listed. We can select our schema, the table, both the tables which our database has. We can check it. Now here if we look, let's say for the first name information type, there are tons of options, because let's say if my table got credit card values, I can directly select this information type. So I'm labeling or classifying my data, right? Currently if you look, so I've got information type as name here, right? So next, sensitivity level, let me make it confidential GDPR. I can add classification here. Similarly, we can add n number of classification. Let me select another table, employee Cloud Guru Amit. Here we have let's say the sensitive data is date of birth, information type we got here, we have date of birth, sensitivity level as like highly confidential we can give, add classification. Again let me add another classification, last name information type as again name, sensitivity label as confidential, let's say, add classification. So once we are done classifying our like data in the table, we'll click on the save button. Please do not forget to click on the save button. It will give the message successfully saved data classification. You got to see this now we'll go to the overview. So we'll be getting one beautiful donut chart like this. So here we can see name, we have successfully classified it. It shows information, tables containing sensitive data is 2, unique information type is 2, classified columns, since we have classified 3 columns, if you look here 1 2 like 1 2 and 3, that's why it displayed classified columns as 3. And we got 2 tables, one is for employee table and another is for employee underscore Cloud Guru Amit, that's why we got 2. So I hope you got this till now, the concept data discovery and classification, how it works. Now next step will be auditing. So let's go to the auditing tab. Similarly we need to enable Azure SQL auditing. Here if you look, server level auditing is disabled. We'll be configuring this as well, but for now let's enable SQL auditing. Let's tick mark storage, we'll select our pay-as-you-go model subscription, and since we don't have storage account, we need to create one storage account. Let's create new. So if everything looks good, we can click on OK. Alright, it says deployment succeeded. We are good. Now for server level settings as well, it's better to click on the save audit settings, because from my experience I have seen even if you save it it will say the changes have not been saved in the page, right? So again, if we check enable SQL auditing, here we have got the subscription. This time we have got the storage account. Now if you look, we can save the settings. So save operation is currently in progress. It says saving server audit settings. If you look, successfully saved server audit settings. Now it looks good. Let's go one step back. Now let me refresh this thing. So as mentioned, reload site, changes might not be saved, so we need to reload it once again. Yeah, so after reloading, if you check, it says enabled. So this is one trick which I have found from my experience. Now if you here, we got one thing enabled, which is view audit logs. Let's click on it. So we got two types of logs: database audit logs and server log. Currently there won't be any records. Now let me fire these commands. Everything will be audited. Just note it. I'm firing purposely these commands for you so that these things gets recorded. So this let me do some mistakes here as well. Let me make it like date of birth 123 so that it purposely throws some error, right? Now let me do some more maybe create problem. So now under query data, if I try, I'll put some random password. I know it's incorrect password. Similarly, let me put another password. These are incorrect password. Now let me put the correct password, right? So I want everything to be audited. That's why I'm purposely doing these things. So now I put the correct credentials, right? I got my tables listed, right? I can view top 1000, select top 1000. Now let me go back here. So now let's refresh this. See, everything got audited. If you look, right, our database authentication got succeeded, batch completed, right, and database authentication failed. Remember, we have put incorrect credentials, right? So these everything will be audited here. Now let me go to the database audit here and show you, right? So if we look here, what action status are succeeded and what are failed. Since we have put some incorrect values, so it got succeeded. So batch failed, right? Everything got audited. So that what concludes this tutorial. Let me flash the architecture diagram as a conclusion. So we have created Azure SQL Database and SQL Server from the scratch. Then we have enabled SQL Defender for SQL. And then we have classified the data in our table, that is a SQL database. The tables we have classified the date of birth columns, then name column, then last name as PII data, right? We have classified those. Next we have audited basically which users are able to log in, succeeded or or unsuccessful login. Those kind of things we can easily track. So thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I hope you found this tutorial for securing SQL database and SQL server as helpful. Alright, let's tackle this question. We'll first look at option A. A says create event subscription from server 7, 8 and server 9. Creating an event subscription from the 3 servers is not the right approach for collecting firewall data, hence incorrect choice. Let's move to option B. B says install on-premises data gateway on each server. Installing on-premises data gateway on each server is not necessary for this specific task or this scenario asked in the question. So B is out. Now let's choose between option C and D. Which one is better? If you look at option C, this will add unnecessary complexity. Instead, installing the Microsoft monitoring agent on all servers, which is mentioned in option C. Therefore, we'll keep option C and reject option D and lock it as the correct answer. Between option C and D, we got to choose a better answer. If we look at option D, this will add unnecessary complexity. Instead, installing Microsoft Monitoring Agent on all the servers is sufficient, which is what mentioned in option C. Since option C is better than option D, so we'll keep option C and reject option D and lock option C as the correct answer. Alrighty, let's look at this. We'll first look at option A. It says execute a command in Azure CLI to retrieve information about the workspace. So if we look here, CMD-let or command line interface is not relevant for creating a saved query related to Azure Defender for SQL events. Let's reject this option. We'll move to option B. B says write a transact SQL query in the Azure SQL Database query editor. This option does not address events reported by Azure Defender for SQL. Therefore, incorrect choice. Now let's move to option C. C says create a custom query language query within the Azure Sentinel workspace. Azure Sentinel uses KQL, also known as custom query language, for querying and analyzing data. So we'll park this option aside. Let's look at option D. D says use Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, also known as SSMS, to create a transact SQL query. SQL Server Management Studio cannot query events related to Azure Defender for SQL. Therefore, again, incorrect choice. If you look at the official documentation, it's mentioned hunting queries are built in custom query language KQL, a powerful query language with IntelliSense language that gives you the power and flexibility you need to take hunting to the next level. So that's what is required. We'll lock option C as the correct answer. Okay, we got to choose two correct answer for this, or two correct services. We'll first look at option A. It says Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor allows to create metric alerts and log search alerts. So we'll park this option aside because the question is all about alerts. Let's move to option B. B says Azure Security Center. Azure Security Center provides security recommendations, but it cannot be used to create alerts based on collected events. Hence, incorrect choice. Let's move to option C. C says Azure Analysis Services. Azure Analysis Service cannot create again alerts based on events. Therefore, wrong answer. We are left out with option D. D says Azure Sentinel. Sentinel allows to create log search alerts based on logs, evaluate resource logs using log analytics queries. That being said, it is another correct answer. So we got our two correct answer. We'll log this. Alright, this is fairly straightforward question. Whenever you see keywords like performance counter, then metric should strike on your mind. Hence we'll keep option C and reject the rest and lock it as the correct answer. Let's bring the heat to the snow. We'll look at option A, C and D together. Audit diagnostic settings, enabling Azure Monitor for VMs, initiative definition and security and audit. All these three cannot help with default security settings as required by the question. So these three are out. We are left out with option B, enable monitoring in Azure Security Center, initiative definition, and it is the correct answer. So please don't go away. If you want a PDF version, please enroll in Diamond membership or above by clicking the join button now. Then please connect and inbox me on LinkedIn at the rate of Cloud Guru Amit or Instagram at the rate of Amit Physique. I'll be glad to help you out with the PDF access.